Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Kṛṣṇa Katha Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurvani Pracharani Nirvishesha Shunyavari Paschatyatishatani. Years ago when I was visiting temples around India with a godbrother of mine, and each place we went we offered obeisances. We said our pranam mantras to Srila Prabhupada. And at one place he turned to me and he said, why are we offering these pranams every time we go through a temple and see a new deity? And I said, I don't know, you're my senior godbrother, you tell me. And he said that we're informing Krishna who let us come here, who invited us to come, and under whose shelter we feel confident to come to such a place and present ourselves. Here in Sri Radhakund, as we know, is the topmost of all Vaishnava places of worship. However, we may not fully realize until after some practice of Krishna consciousness, maybe even many lifetimes. So when we enter here, we should enter in the mood of being under the shelter of His Divine Grace Vaisesika Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and our Guru Varga. Srila Prabhupada allowed us to come to Sri Radhakund, but he also told us to be very respectful here and remember that we may not see everywhere we're walking, or we may not see what the environment is exactly. So we should be very humble and we should enter very respectfully. To that end, we can make a sankalpa before we enter Radhakund. Dear Srila Prabhupada, if you so desire, please allow us to enter Sri Radhakund in a mood of humble reverence.
In a mood of humble reverence.
Please let us pray for advancement in devotional service.
Please let us pray for advancement in devotional service.
And empowerment to take back the mood of Vrindavan to the West and give it to everybody. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Shri Radhakund ki Jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namah Shrishtam Manamapi Shachi Putram Akrasarupam. Is it in your songbook?
No.
Is it in verse circle?
Yeah.
Go to verse circle.
I think so.
It's two places where you can follow along. One is in the songbook. The other is in versecircle.com if you have your phone and you have connectivity.
Bad connectivity.
Connectivity is a problem?
Yeah.
Okay. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. You'll find in this area the samadhis, bhajan kutirs of many of our acharyas. If you look as we leave, you'll see that they all have a place here at Sri Radhakund. And then the verses we just chanted from Upadeshamrita, we find, if you can move up a little bit, make room for it a little bit. That Srila Rupa Goswami mentions a hierarchy. Vaikuntash janito vara marupuri tatrapi ratsotsavad vrindaranyam udara panira ramana tatrapi govardhanaha. He says, first he mentions Vaikuntha, but better than Vaikuntha, he said, is Mathura. Better than Mathura. Vaikuntash janito vara marupuri tatrapi rasotsavat, Vrindaranyam, better than Mathura is Vrindavan. Udarapani ramanat tatrapi Govardhanaha, and better than that is Govardhan Hill, because Krishna lifted it with his hand. Radhakundam Ihapi Gokulapate Vaikuntash Janito Vara Madhupuri Tatrapi Ratsotsava Vrindaranyam Udarapani Ramanat Tatrapi Govardhanaha Radha Kundamihapi Gokulapate Premamlar Tapravanat Kuryadasya Virajato Giritite Sevam Vivekinaka. And above Govardhan Hill is Radhakund, because here Krishna performed his eternal Ashtakali Lalila pastimes with Srimati Radharani. And the Sri Radhakund story is given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in conjunction with Krishna's killing of Aristasura. Aristasura was the bull demon. And Krishna, of course, whenever he kills a demon, he gives benediction, a liberation. We know the first demon that he killed was Putana. And it's mentioned by Uddhava in the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Aho bhakiyam stanakala kutam chikam saya aya as apyasadvi devegatim datruchitam tatonyam kambadaya lum sharanam brajema. Which is, he's remarking, aho. Everyone said, aho. Aho. When you want to make an exclamation from now on, you can just say, aho. Aho. And Baki means the sister of Baka. Do you remember Bakasura? Yes. He was the duck demon, or actually he was some kind of crane. And Krishna bifurcated him. Bakasura tried to swallow Krishna with his beak, but he felt a burning sensation in his throat, so he regurgitated the beautiful Lord from his throat. He couldn't handle it. And our acharyas say that those who have some vested interest in the material world, this is considered to be inauspicious or even demoniac. And so such people have a hard time chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But you don't, because you don't have any vested interest in the material world. To you, it's sweet. But just like Bakasura, when he swallowed Krishna, he felt a burning sensation in his mouth. So people who are attached to the material world and they chant Hare Krishna, like, oh, that tastes terrible. It burns my mouth to chant that. Let me go back to my own self-interest here in the material world. So that was Bakasura. And Krishna, after being regurgitated from his mouth, had bifurcated his beak and killed Bakasura. Haribo! Haribo! Krishna kills all the demons he meets, but he gives them a benediction, because everyone killed by Krishna attains the supreme destination by Krishna's grace. So his killing or his loving, they're equal because it's absolute. Krishna's absolute. And this is mentioned by Rupa Goswami in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita. It was one of the special characteristics of Krishna, that whomever he kills, he gives supreme benediction. And so Uddhava is remarking to Vidura, when he's remembering the Vrindavan pastimes, about the merciful nature of Krishna. And he says, Kamvadaya lum sharanam rajema. Remember sharanam, because we talked about Sharanagati the other night? And we read the verse from the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadharaman Parityaja. So all those who have tasted the nectar of Krishna consciousness ask this question, who wouldn't take this? Who wouldn't take it? In fact, the sages at Naimisharanya, they say, Kova bhagavatastasya punya shloke di karmana. They're asking this question, since Krishna is so merciful and simply just by hearing about him, you can also attain the supreme destination. He said, who won't listen to this? And this is a question that's answered in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Nivrittatar sharupagiyamanas bhavavsharat chotra manobirama ka uttama shloka gunanavada puman virajete vinapushugnat. People who are too engrossed in the material world to the point where they've degraded themselves so far that they kill animals and eat them. It's a barbaric situation. And those who have descended to that level of existence, says Shukadeva Goswami, they won't be interested in Kṛṣṇa Katha because they're too covered. And also, he says those who are dedicated to the material world, this is called the Griha Vrata. Someone makes a vow that no matter what anybody says, I'm staying in the material world. Prahlad Maharaj noted it when he said, Matirna Krishna Padataksvatova Mita Pipadyeta Griha Vratanam Adanta Gobir Vishatam Tamishram Punak Punascharvita Charvananam Nate Vidu Swarta Katim Hi Vishnum Virasharaye Bahir Artamani Na Andayatander Paniyamanas Tipisha Tantram Urudham Nibada. He said people, they've made a vow to stay in the material world no matter what. And then even if other people give them instructions, they can't take them. Or if they try to help themselves, they can't take it. Or a combination of their own efforts and other people speaking to them, they can't take it. So Nivritta Tarshita Bhagiya Manas. Who can take it? Who can fully absorb the pastimes of Krishna, the instructions of Krishna? Nivritta Tarsharas. Somebody who no longer has a taste for the temporary material world. And for such people, the topics of Krishna are medicinal. They take them regularly. Nivritta Tarshat Ubhagiya Mana, and how do they take it? In the ear. They hear it and then they absorb it, and it cures the dread disease of the heart. So hearing about Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan is mentioned as the most potent of all kinds of katha that one can hear. And this is mentioned by Shukadeva Goswami at the end of the Rasa Lila pastimes. Not that I'm going to speak of anything about Rasa Lila, but I'll just mention this verse because Shukadeva says, Vikriditam Rajavadu Biraham Cha Vishnu Shadhanvitona Shinuyad Athavarna Yadya Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Pratilabhyakamam Hridrogam Ashvapahino Yacharena Tira. Which means that if you're able somehow or other to give the reception out of faith, you have faith that these pastimes are all potent, and you can sit in here, the pastimes, Shradhanvitona Shrinuyad Adavarna Yadyad, in the company of those who are proper Vaishnavas, and you hear from proper Vaishnavas, Shradhanvito, faithfully, then Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Pratilabhyakam. What do you have to gain? Well, one thing is, it will take away any of the last vestiges of attachment that one has to this material world. That will be eradicated from within the heart. And Bhaktim Param Bhagavati, one will attain the highest perfection of life, which is Prema Bhakti, just by hearing. So at this place, we hear the story from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who, after Krishna killed the demon, Aristasura, normally everyone celebrates because Krishna kills a demon, everyone says, Jai, Jai. Say Jai, Jai. Jai, Jai. Or Aho. Aho. Then they're in wonderment. But this time, the gopis, when after Krishna killed Aristasura, who was a bull demon, he twisted him up, the bull demon, like he was a wet rag. You know, the big bull, and Krishna was just a little child, but he twisted him and trounced him on the ground. Like, you know, you take a dish rag? Have you ever twisted it out to get all the water out? That's what Krishna did to Aristasura, and he smacked it on the ground. And the bull demon died in that place. And of course, the devas were happy because the devas don't like demons hanging around. It interrupts their flow of life. And they were also saying, Jai, 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 Jai. Aho, Aho, Bhalo, Bhalo. Bhalo. But Radharani and the gopis were standing by and they said, you just killed a bull. They said to Krishna, you killed a bull. He goes, but he's a demon, Krishna said. He goes, still a bull. You killed a bull right here in Vrindavan. You're going to have to do something about that. Said, what should I do? You should bathe in all the holy rivers in the whole universe. Otherwise, don't even come close to us. We don't even want to see you. And so Krishna, being all powerful, Krishna can do anything. He then called all the holy rivers to come down. He made a impression in the ground with his heel. Like to see that, Krishna's lotus foot. He stamped in the ground, he made an impression. And that, he invited all of the holy rivers personified to come and fill up. And that made Shyamakund, which is right behind you. Sri Shyamakund ki Jai! And so then he bathed and he said, there, I'm pure, here I am. Srimati Radharani, not wanting to be outdone, said, we'll build, myself and my Sakis will build a kund that's better than yours. And so they started digging in the earth using their bangles, and there's impressions in the earth where Rishtasura had dug up the earth, because he was enormous. In fact, it's said that his head touched the clouds. He was so big. So you can imagine when his hooves, you know how bulls, before they attack, they do this thing where they go like this? Aristasura did that, and it made impressions in the ground. So then Radharani, with all her assistants, began digging that area. And then they said, we'll get our own water. So they made a line all the way from here to Manasi Ganga. That's a long way. And they got thousands and thousands of pots. And she said, we'll bring them all ourselves and we'll fill up this kund. And Krishna said, why work so hard? I'd like to help you build a kund that's even more beautiful than my kund. And so he then called from his mind all of the holy rivers personified from all over the universe, and they came there, and Radharani said, I do not see them, but each one of them then appeared and offered obeisances to Srimati Radharani and contributed his or her water to her kund, and that filled up Sri Radhakund. And you'll notice that Radhakund is connected to Shyamakund. They're just across from one another. So this is a supreme deity of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas who worshipped here. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had instructed Rupa and Sanatana Goswami to come here to Vrindavan to reconstitute all of the holy places where Krishna had performed his pastimes. Of course, the great-grandson of Krishna was named Vajranath. And after Krishna's pastimes, the holy places started to disappear, because over time everything is gradually diminished, right? And so Vajranath, he took up the task of redoing many of the holy places. And even by the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, many of those places were obscured as well. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted Rupa and Sanatana to bring back the holy places where Krishna had performed his pastimes, so that people could come here and remember Krishna and hear about Krishna and his pastimes, because this is the aushadhi. This is the medicine through which we cure the disease of material life, hearing about Krishna in Vrindavan. Of course, we hear about Krishna in Kurukshetra, we hear about him in Dwarka. We have no discrimination that we'll only hear this, but we must hear all of Krishna's pastimes as well as his instructions in the Bhagavad Gita and elsewhere. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Vrindavan, he was looking for Radhakund. And this area, you can imagine this area, even 100 years ago, there weren't so many buildings here at all. What to speak of 500 years ago, it was just a field. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came through the field and he was asking everyone, where is Radhakund, where is Shyamakund? And the locals didn't know. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, out of his bhava, he found these very small ponds. They were almost like puddles in the middle of the field. And to everyone's amazement, they saw this beautiful golden sannyasi then bathing in those little ponds right in the middle of the field. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his ecstasy, then declared, this is Radhakund, this is Shyamakund. And thus brought it back. Haribol. Haribol. So Prabhupada allowed us to come to Radhakund. He brought us here, but he wanted us to be very respectful, as I said before we walked into Radhakund. And he wanted that we be very humble, following the mood of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who wrote a verse when he moved the temple from Ottadanga Junction Road to Bagh Bazar. Bagh Bazar was a really big, fancy temple, and Ottadanga Junction Road at the time was in a very depressed part of Calcutta, but they had a vibrant spirit of preaching. He had composed a verse that he chanted along the way as they brought the deities on chariots to the Bagh Bazar temple, which we'll all go to next. Just have to change your ticket. And in the verse he sings that we keep these pastimes of Radhakund and Krishna's intimate connection with the gopis way, way above our heads. Okay? There's nothing for you there. And it keeps it way, way above our heads. We're here, but we worship them above our heads as something so sacred that we stay as servants of the servants of the servants of the servants, and we hear these pastimes by the mercy of our acharyas, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, very reverently, respectfully, not thinking that we have any entitlement, that, oh, I can come to Radhakund, I'm a great devotee. In fact, the mood of the devotee, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's head, following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is Trinadapi Sunichena. So, some years ago at the Sadhu Sangha retreat we have in America, which you're all invited to, you can come. Just tell your boss you're busy, you gotta go, and you can all come. And we were distributing sets of Srimad Bhagavatams. And in order to interest the devotees more in taking the sets of Srimad Bhagavatam, we asked famous devotees who were there to sign them. Because then although it's the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's invaluable, it became most desirable for many people. And we asked His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj to sign. So when I looked inside the Bhagavatams he had signed, I noticed that he had put his name all the way at the bottom, so that anybody after him would have his or her name above his. He left no room at the bottom. So this idea, Trinadapi Sunichena, this is the entryway into chanting Hare Krishna, because we may be durdaivam, we may be unfortunate because we don't have a taste, nor may we may be unfortunate because we come to Radhakund and we may not be able to taste the ambrosia here. Therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Durdaivam idrisham ihachanidadra. Okay, you feel unfortunate? Be very, very humble. Sign your name at the very bottom. If you come into any situation where you feel he wants to join the Sankirtan party, just sit down. Can somebody get him some biscuits?
He gave him one already.
You want more biscuits or something more like savory or sweet? What do you like? Here, have a little snack. You stay there and we'll bring you stuff. There, bread. Yum yum, Vapi. Smaram Baba. He needs a little water too. That's very dry. So the secret to success for approaching Shri Radhakund, according to our acharyas, is to be very, very humble. Think, how can I be the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant, and take on the lowliest task that nobody else will take, and do the needful to help spread the Sankirtan movement. And by the mercy of Krishna, the Dham, holy names, and most importantly, the Vaishnavas, in our Guru Parampara, we can gradually develop, in this lifetime, an inclination to hear about Krishna. And when that inclination grows, when we notice it at first that I'd like to go here, and of course I'm preaching to the choir because that's why you're all here. It's not so easy traveling, is it? The word travel comes from the word travail. And if you trace that back, travail comes from a word which means an instrument of torture that has 3 whips on it. But when we take this trouble for Krishna to come here, as you've all done, just to hear, just to remember Krishna, he said, this leads to Tanama Rupa Charitari Sukirtanana Smrityo Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa means step by step, it will appear in our hearts that this is nice. This is where I like to be, better, more than anywhere else. I don't want to be at the football game. I don't want to be watch the bowlers in the cricket match. It seems ludicrous to us, grown men running around with uniforms on, hitting a ball with a stick. I want to be wherever Krishna's pastimes are being discussed. That's a spiritual awakening, that I prefer this. It's mentioned by Kavi Yogendra, Bhakti Parishanu Bhava Viraktir Anyata Traisha Trika Eka Kala Prapadya Manasya Yatashnata Tusti Pushti Shud Apayonagasam, which means that this practice is very simple. It's one thing. Would you like a different kind of snack? It's very simple. It's just like eating. Puppy. It's just like eating. And that is that when you're hungry and you eat, and he's obviously not hungry, then there's 3 things that happen. Now's your test to see if you can focus. There's 3 things that happen. One is tushti, you feel satisfaction. Pushti, you feel nourished. You know that you're getting nourished. And shud apanayo, which means that you feel your hunger going away. So same way, as we hear Kṛṣṇa Katha, we continue to practice devotional service. We'll know for ourselves. Nobody has to give us a certificate, although those are nice too. But you feel for yourself that, oh, I like this. I'd rather be here than somewhere else. That's the first sign of health. And just like when you're eating, you know that you're getting nourished, and you start to feel satisfied by hearing Kṛṣṇa Katha and practicing Krishna consciousness in any of the 9 forms of devotional service. So we've come here to this most sacred place. We may or may not be able to appreciate it. We all have an appreciating capacity, and it can expand unlimitedly. So that's why we're doing this. And we can pray for an ever-expanding appreciating capacity for Kṛṣṇa Katha. Because that's something you can do whether you're here, whether you're in London, or the United States, or on an airplane. You can go into the mode of hearing Kṛṣṇa Katha, and that is the beginning of all success in devotional service. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Shri Radhakund, Shamakund, dear great acharyas who are all present here, if you so desire, please engage us as servants of the servants of the servants to help spread the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And please allow us a taste for hearing Bhagavad Gita, Sri Upanishad, Sri Bhadeshamrita, Nectar of Devotion, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Anything else? Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part. Please say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna!
Isn't this a nice little place?
Yes.
It's the only quiet place in Vraj right now. But it's kind of like Naimisharanya. They found a quiet place and they just figured everything out, and they broadcast it to the world. We're the recipients of that. And now a word from our sponsor.